That looks crazy.
What? This is a lav mic, bro.
Yeah, but it looks nuts.
What? This is what you speak into. Bro, why you gotta diss the setup, though?
Nah, I mean, just like, it looks nuts.
Nah, that's crazy, bro.
Can I do it like that?
Yeah.
It looks like a little accessory. I don't know, I think it looks normal.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I'm a photographer, celebrity and fashion photographer based out of New York City. My name is Gabriel Perez Silva. The other day, my friend invited me to a career day at his school with all grades, and one of the questions that I asked by one of the students was, what other career paths correlate with what I do, but not necessarily just becoming a photographer. And I thought it was a great question, and I also thought it would be a good time to start a new series that originally was going to be a glass of wine with, and then have a peer, a colleague, a friend on within the industry, and just banter and talk about what they do and whatnot and introduce themselves. But since I don't drink anymore, it's now a glass of water with. And today we have no other than my good friend and celebrity and editorial hairstylist, Mark Allen Esparza.
Hi, thanks for having me today. My name is Mark Allen Esparza. I am a editorial celebrity hairstylist living in New York City. I've been here for almost 6 years, and I really like my job.
Could you tell us a little bit about what it is to have the title of an editorial hairstylist? What does that mean, and what is that? How does that differentiate? How do you get there from being just a salon hairstylist in your local area, or versus a barber even? What is the difference?
Okay, so first, the difference between a barber and a hairstylist or a cosmetologist, which is what I am. A licensed cosmetologist in California, where I lived before New York. Barbers and cosmetologists are licensed to do different things. For example, barbers are licensed to use straight razors on the skin. Cosmetologists are not. Cosmetologists are also licensed to do makeup and waxing and nails and facials. But I don't do any of those other things. I sometimes I have to do makeup, but we could talk about that later. That's more like a other thing that I have to do sometimes. Yeah, it's sort of, it's just like a lot of stuff is moving into like combo artists, hair and makeup done by one person, but I digress. What was the other part of your question?
Yeah, that's interesting. As a photographer, sometimes there's a lot of talk about nowadays you got to be versatile with, videography and photography, and not just one thing or the other. Is makeup something that you have a personal interest in, or is it mostly just you feel like it's something you need to know how to do in today's industry market?
When I first started doing hair, I thought makeup was going to be a bigger part of my career. I could be in charge of hair and makeup for a person. For example, doing weddings or something like that. Like, you could do both. You could be a hair and makeup person. But once I got to New York and started working on photo shoots, I was like, I don't want to do makeup. I just need to focus on hair. It was the main thing that I wanted to do with my career anyway, and makeup was just like an additional thing that I sort of wanted. I had interest in it, but I was also much more scared of it than hair. Doing hair felt really natural to me. Makeup was like more of a challenge, and it still is. I mean, I do it now for certain clients, and I do an okay job. They keep hiring me, but I'm a hairstylist first and foremost.
Okay.
Yeah. And then back to your earlier question, what is an editorial hairstylist versus working in a salon?
Yeah, like how do you get from point A to point B?
A lot of hard work, a lot of cold calls. I DM'd a lot of people before I moved to New York, like photographers and other hairstylists that I wanted to work with. I just reached out to them via Instagram. This was 7-8 years ago, before I moved. And I really just put myself out there. Like, I was like, hey, I'm going to be in New York for Fashion Week. Do you need an assistant? Do you need a hairstylist? just any way to get myself into a show was my first priority. Was my first like exposure into working in fashion in New York, was the shows, Fashion Week.
So you think getting a good start would be trying to reach out, cold emailing, and outreaching through even DMs to try to start working on shows, and then from there start building up and doing more editorial work?
That's how I did it. I don't know if that's like the best way, but it worked out for me. I'm sure there's other ways, especially if you're already connected in fashion. Like if you already live in New York, for example, you probably know photographers already. You probably know people that work in fashion if you're here, or in another like hub, like another fashion hub. But yeah, that's how I did it. So I don't know if that's the best way, but it's the way that worked best for me, and it felt the best to me as well, because I wasn't scared to reach out to these people. They're just, I mean, I looked up to them. People like Jimmy Paul or Joey George, Scott McMahon. I would see their work in magazines back home. And the beauty of social media is that I now had a direct line to them. I could just DM them. I could find their Instagram, send them a message, and hope and pray that they would see it and respond. And in like many, many cases they did. And so when I came to New York, before I moved, I would come out for Fashion Week, and I would set up meetings with them, just to introduce myself. That way they knew who I was. So that way when I got here, they were ready to hire me for whatever they needed.
That's interesting. So you've been here for around 7 years, you said?
Almost 6, since I moved here full time.
And how long would you tell somebody who's interested in taking a route like this that it could take for them to start seeing some growth or be noticed?
I think it's different for everyone, and I think it's important not to compare yourself to other people that are doing the same thing as you. It's kind of impossible not to compare yourself, because, I mean, it's human nature, I think. But my timeline it felt quick, but it also felt so slow, because I moved here January 2018. I had already met people, because I had been coming out here for 2 years before that, off and on. So I'd already met people and was already assisting people out here. And then, so once I moved here, I was assisting a couple of people that I had reached out to, and through their agencies, meeting other hairstylists that also needed assistance. There's like a dearth of quality assistance in New York, and I just learned the word dearth like 3 weeks ago. It means a lack of.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway,
for a good vocab.
yeah, dearth. So my timeline from getting here and starting to work was immediate, because I had already made those connections. And then as far as my own jobs, like my own photo shoots where I was the lead hairstylist, I started putting things together myself, just like test shoots, not long after. Once I figured out, like, oh, okay, these are the pieces that you need. You need a photographer, you need a stylist for the clothes, you need a makeup artist, you need talent, obviously a model, and then like a setup, which is not really my thing, that's more like your thing. Then I started putting together my own shoots, just amongst friends, people that I had met, people that were also feeling creative. And once those get seen, you meet more people and more people. So it's really just like networking, like heavy networking.
Yeah, that kind of brings me back. When I was first starting, one of the first photographers who let me help them out and assist them, I remember asking them if he thought I had what it took to make it, or to take it to the next level, the bigger leagues of photography. And he was kind of like, that'll really come down to the next few years because most people will probably give up like within the first year or two. And it really kind of comes down to whoever sticks to it and is consistent, because it can be very rewarding, but it's a career that requires a lot of effort and time put into it before it actually starts like, paying off or seeing a lot of like results from it. And another thing I was wondering between the relationship between a hairstylist and a photographer is, how important is that relationship? And on top of that, how
When do I take my pants off?
the pants don't come off, brother.
Before or after you
The
take
pants
yours
stay
off?
on the whole time.
Speaking of relationship between photographer and hairstylist.
Yeah, and what does that relationship, how important is it between a hairstylist and a photographer and developing those relationships? And also, what would you say is the best way that you could advise somebody into meeting photographers and, developing relationships with them that can lead into opportunities where they can work together and shoot together and then eventually get called into jobs together and whatnot?
I think my relationship with photographers is really helpful in executing ideas that I have or that you guys have, because we lean on each other to bring an idea to life, on camera. So the relationship is super important, and I have become friends with photographers, some more than others. Because I also cut your hair, which is another in that I have, because once people figure out that not only can I style hair on set, but I can also cut hair at home, well then this creates a whole nother relationship, which nourishes the other. And then, what was the other question? Our relationship, and then...
Well, I didn't ask about our relationship.
No, relationship between... we will keep our relationship private.
The other question was, how do you recommend the best way for people watching, for them to build relationships or get in contact with photographers?
Oh, right. So if you have a photographer's direct email them, or DM them if you guys are mutuals on social media, and just say hey, I'm a fan of your work, I really like what you post, what you share, I'd love to work with you. That's a great way of reaching out to people.
Is that what happened with us?
Nope.
Okay, you can take
What happened with us?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
Was you reached out to me for a haircut.
Oh, is that what happened? Yeah.
It was that, and you were selling clothes online.
Damn.
So I think it was a mutual interest in each other's not on set stuff, which has then brought us to be on set together.
Yeah, that is a good point. I feel like for the first part of our relationship, it wasn't really related to work stuff.
Not really.
And then now this past year we did some shoots together, didn't we? Which ones did we do again? We did the red cover, right? Wait, which numero? Oh, we did Aubrey, right?
Aubrey for numero.
And we did that red cover, right?
What's the red one?
With Murgy. Were you there that day? No.
No, I was not. I must have been unavailable.
Oh man, that's I was about to say the Sean White one, but I don't remember you weren't there. Wasn't you? Wait, which?
Sean White was Sergio.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. But yeah, so another interesting thing that I'd like to ask you is, myself being a fellow, Latino, these non-traditional career paths sometimes can be a bit more difficult than maybe somebody who comes from a family who's more open to that or has more economic resources or is an immigrant. And I know myself and a lot of peers have experienced some of these things. I've been lucky to have some, I'm looking to where my family now, supports me now, but it hasn't always been like that. But I want to know, for you, especially at the beginning of the journey when the support is most needed, how was it? Was it difficult? Were you doing something before that surprised them when you told them you were going to do hairstyling? And do they support you now? And what did that look like?
I was lucky, but I also took my time before I started doing hair. Right out of high school, I went into college, and I got my degree in sociology with an emphasis on family studies. And during that time, I got on the wait list. I put myself on the wait list for beauty school in San Jose, California. And I graduated college, then it was time to go to beauty school. When I told my mom that I was going to do that, she was fine with it because my mom was a hairstylist, and my dad's parents also both did hair. My grandpa was a barber up until 3 years ago when COVID hit, and my grandma was a hairstylist. She worked at the same salon as my mom. That's how my parents met. So my family was supportive from the beginning because I had already done college. I already got my degree. And then when I said I was going to go to beauty school, they were like, okay, cool. And then when I decided not to use my degree and just stick to hair, they were fine. Like, no, I didn't get any pushback. I was really lucky. But I was also really independent. I didn't ask my parents for much. Like, I never asked for money. I asked my mom for money once when I was in college to pay for college classes at San Jose State. And I felt so foolish asking her for money. I cried. And she was like, you're ridiculous. This is for school. Of course, you can have the whatever, like $2,000 it was to pay for the credits. But that's the only time. I've always been self-sufficient, and so I think in that sense, they didn't really have to worry about me, and they could just be supportive sort of from a distance financially, and emotionally very much so. Like, they were always cool with whatever I wanted to do. I was a good kid.
Yeah, that is interesting. I remember when I first was leaving Florida, coming out of, dropping out twice from college, and I was leaving the second time, and I had gotten an internship at a modeling agency. I talked about this in the last video, but it was supposed to be a 3 months internship. It was unpaid, $20 a day, like for a stipend, but I remember
$20 a day?
Yeah.
Ugh, how can anyone live on $20 a day?
Well, yeah.
This industry is so fucked.
Yeah, that's kind of part of it. I mean, I would save it and then put that towards like wherever I was staying, or if I was couch hopping, then I could save it for other stuff. But I gained a lot of weight because of that. I was eating whatever I could,
Yeah.
But I remember telling my mom when I was leaving, I was like, yeah, I'm not, she was like, I'll see you in 3 months or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not coming back until I've like, I have something to show, or I've like done something notable, And she like, at first she was like, oh, sure. Like, I'll see you soon. I mean, I think it was part of it was hopeful wishing, she wanted me to come back home, but you gotta let the bird fly, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, evidently like that year I was busting my chops and going hard in the paint, and yeah, but I never came back. Those 3 months turned into what now is 5 pushing, that's 5.5 years.
Before I moved to New York, I moved in with my friends in California to save money so I wasn't paying full rent by myself. So I moved in with a couple of friends and saved up some cash just in case when I got here I didn't make any money. I knew I needed to pay rent, I needed to eat. And so I saved up a bunch of money, moved here. I told everyone, I'm only gonna go for a year, I'm gonna see what happens, I'm gonna try it out. And then that first year, I didn't even have to touch my savings that I had saved up, because I got here and since I'd already made those connections, I came here and I got right to work. Assistants don't make a ton of money, but it was enough so that I didn't have to really touch that savings. Thank goodness, because when COVID came just a couple years later, then I had to touch the savings.
Yeah, it's a good point too. You know, when I was about to drop out for the second time, those few months leading up to when I was getting ready, gearing up to make a move somewhat, I mean, it was either going to be NY or LA, but I would start coming up to New York like every other week, and I would do like some Spirit flight, you know, like as cheap as I could be. And I would tell myself, I'm like, all right, like if I can't pay this trip, then I have to skip the next. So every time that I would come, I'd be lucky enough to like book a small little private session or something, or make money somehow and then pay off the trip and break even, and that way start making some connections every time I'd come. And some of those people that I met during that time, you know, became my friends, and also became, you know, respected in their own fields. And, you know, one guy I worked with was an actor, and then he became, you know, big time actor, and we're still friends. You know, stuff like that. It's really interesting. There's another question I wanted to ask you though, because I know we're gonna have to start wrapping soon. How important is it to be represented as an artist? Do you think it's required? Are you represented? And, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
Represented how? Like as a Latino, as a Mexican? Oh, like that.
But you can talk about being represented.
Because we didn't, you asked me, you mentioned that before in the last question, and I didn't even talk about that.
You can talk about being represented as a Latino.
Yeah, there's a couple really good brown hairstylists out there.
Give me some names.
Ebony. Ebony's incredible. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. But I know there's more.
Okay.
Also because hairstylists are behind the scenes. Like, we're not the stars.
We got one right here.
We got one right here. Yeah, I mean, but it's very much a behind the scenes job. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I hate being on camera. But I'm doing it for you anyway. But there are plenty of black, brown hairstylists of all genders. You ever seen that clip of Rihanna where she can't like say exactly what she's trying to say, so she goes like gender neutral, fluid, trans, like she just says everything. Hairstylists come in all shapes and sizes, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think what was happening was that she was scared of being canceled right now in today's day and age, so she's trying to get everything in and not mess up.
She tried to say everything. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying not to get canceled. And then, okay, so representation as in having an agency that represents me in business affairs. I find it super helpful to have someone to negotiate my rates for me, to handle my schedule. It's a service that they provide, and it's also collaboration in terms of growing my career. So, I really like my agents. Like, they're so nice. They check in on me all the time and make sure I'm okay when I'm at work. They're like, so how was work today? Because they also will send an email to a photographer or a stylist or whoever on my behalf and say, hey, Mark, really loved working with you. You know, can't wait to do it again. Can't wait to see the images. Can't wait to do it again. Yeah.
But was it necessary up until now? And is it mostly just a business thing that makes it more of a lovely experience? Or what is the big pro about it and con?
So the benefits of being signed with an agency include having them to advocate on my behalf. Sending emails, negotiating rates, negotiating contracts with clients, not haircutting clients, but this is like photo shoot stuff, you know, like within fashion. Haircutting is like a side thing that I do because I still love it, and I get to create those one-on-one connections still and maintain them. But yeah, the agency is, the cons are you have to pay them. They take a percentage of your money, but they also do a lot of work for that money. So, you know, nothing comes for free, and they're nice, and I appreciate them because a good agent will have your back, and they will see the vision, like the greater vision of your career, and they want that for you just as much as you want it for yourself, if that's possible. Was it necessary? For me, I think I think it is necessary if you want it to be necessary. If not, then you can forge your own path and reach out to producers yourself and send out your own book. I'm sure you do this, right? Like when you're reaching out to clients, which I had done in the past, as you know, before I moved here. But it's nicer to have someone else do it for you. And also they just have a history of years and years of connections that I don't have. I don't know the people that work at Calvin Klein, but they do. And through them, I'll get to meet them, you know, stuff like that.
That's good. That's real good. Yeah, thanks for sharing. You know, it's been a great experience having you on here today, Mark. If you guys want to check out his work, you can look at it right here. I'm kidding.
Right here?
Right here.
In your mind?
On my head.
Oh.
He cut my hair. But nah, just kidding. I'll put up some of his work, and there is a video up. One of my first YouTube videos up was me, you know, bamboozling Mark and showing up at his place with my camera while he cut my hair. And actually, one time somebody showed up asking for that haircut, didn't they? Remember that?
Your haircut has been used as a reference. As someone's reference, they go, oh, I want my hair to look like this guy.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I know.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, Mark. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment. Let me know who else you'd like me to have on, any type of an industry person. And if you want to add any last, you know, words, Mark, anything you have in mind?
So after this, if you subscribe to my OnlyFans, you can see what happens after hours.
Hey, yo.
I'm just kidding. I don't have an OnlyFans. I just post it for free on the internet.
I'm dead. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Have a nice day, and see you on the next episode or the next A Glass of Water with. Goodbye.